Hey guys, this is Goku, and on this channel we talk about poker and ideas that can improve your life. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click the subscribe button because I'll be honored to have you here. Today we're gonna jump into Poker Snowie and we're gonna play another session, or we're gonna analyze another session with some hands that we've played on 888 Poker in the past. We've got 982 hands in an import that we just imported during the last session. We've got 22 blunders here, so we're gonna go over them. We see that we played at a pretty bad level, so I assume some of these blunders will be pretty big. So very much looking forward to these. Let's check them out. And for our first hand, we've got pocket jacks on the button with 200 big blind deep stacks on blinds 125, 250, ante 30. And we open it up to a little over 2 BBs. We get 3-bet from the small blind. The big blind calls, and we decide to tag along, which is pretty weak. I agree it is. We should be just 4-betting here rather with pocket jacks. We should make it 6k and just take this pot down, or even we should make it 8k or 7.5 or something. And these guys would probably just fold their hands, but by calling we're allowing them to see the flop, and we actually see their hands because because there will be more action in this hand. So this is the blunder, and I fully agree with the solver's reasoning here. This should just be a 4-bet with pocket jacks and not a call. Of course, we are in position, but yeah, if it was just one player 3-betting, it would be fine to call here sometimes. But if it's a 3-bet and a call, it's much better to just 4-bet and take some of this dead money for us. So we see a flop of ace-10 ace with 2 diamonds, and the small blind, the initial 3-better, continues for a third of the pot, gets called by the big blind, and we call here again, which is an error by Snowy. Snowy thinks it's an error. I actually don't think it's that bad to call here 1-bet. I mean, we know that the big blind probably just has a draw or a weekend. The small blind could also just be posturing, probably with a better hand than ours, like queens or kings. But still, he may shut down later on, and we may be able to take this pot. But yeah, it's a little bit too loose to call here with pocket jacks. So I can see why the solver doesn't like this play. We see a 7 of hearts fall on the turn. The initial raiser once again bets a third of the pot, gets called by the big blind, and this time, of course, we fold, which is fine. And on the river, we see a 9 of clubs, and once again, there's a third pot bet, which gets called, and we see both players just having fun. I mean, the small blind 3-bet with ace-8 is fine. This is something we'll do from time to time. But the call of the 3-bet from the big blind with king 10 off is very weak. We should never be doing that. If we take a look here, the solver is saying it's a minus 1.34 error, and it should just be folded. Ace-jack off is also a fold, the solver says. So let's move on to the next blunder. It's a one on 12 big blind stacks on 1500, 1300, yeah, big blinds, or just 1,500, 3,000 with ante 375. There's an open from under the gun +1 to 2 BBs. There's a call from hijack, and we shove it, which is of course perfectly fine play with our 12 big blind stack and with ace-5 suited, this is an obvious shove. So solver shows this is wrong because it doesn't understand that this is a tournament, and we just have to shove it here. We cannot wait for better hands. This is as good as it gets. We got an open and a call, and we've got a really nice hand. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's an error on a tournament. So we see the initial raiser shoving, the caller falls, and we go, of course, all in and do not hit whilst the villain hits a straight, so we lose this. Now we've got a 4-5 suited on the middle position, again with 200 big blinds deep stacks. There's a limp from under the gun +1. We bump it up to 3 BBs, which is fine, but maybe a little on the low side. You see all of us are on, it's probably the beginning of the tournament and everyone started with 50k, so everyone is deep, so we can make it a little higher if we're opening here this 4-5 suited. But we make it 3 big blinds and get called by the big blind and by the initial limper. There's a check from the big blind. The initial limper bets 500, so 2 big blinds, 20% of the pot, and we bump it up to full pot. And the solver actually thinks it's bad, which is interesting. Maybe we make it too big. Maybe we should just make it 1500 or something, and then it would be okay. Yeah, the problem I see with this with solver is that it doesn't really show this raise to what, right? It shows that 25% of pot is the correct bet sizing, and that he calls 75% of the time and raises 25%, but raises to what exactly? So yeah, we're not gonna know this, but they folded. Let's go to the next one. Again, it's a 5.33 big blind mistake. Blinds are 300, 600, anti-75. We're again almost 200 big blinds stack, big blinds deep. We open pocket sevens from under the gun +1, which is fine. We get called by under the gun +2. Small blind calls as well, and we see a flop of 4 deuce 6 with 2 diamonds. The small blind checks. We continue for half pot. We see Snow is actually checking here with pocket sevens, which I find very weird. But nonetheless, this is what solver is doing. He's just checking here 100%, not betting at all. But we see if we see that the betting half pot is pretty much similar EV to checking, and this is what we do. We get called by the player next to us, and there's a 9 of diamonds on the turn. We check, and the villain bets half pot, which we call, and this is the big mistake here. And do you think it's a mistake? Well, yeah, I think it is a mistake, because There's already a flush on the board. We do not have a diamond. We have a second pair right now. And villain's got a lot of hands that beat us. So, and we do not really have any chance of improving. So we should probably just fold here. And on the river, 8 of clubs, he goes check, check, and the villain shows pocket jacks. So, yeah, we did not have to invest another 5,000, which is nearly 10 big blinds at these blinds into the spot. If we had a diamond, I guess then maybe we could sometimes, but with this, probably he's not bluffing enough here for this to make sense. And if he is bluffing, then he's gonna probably follow up on a lot of rivers, and we're not gonna be able to call with pocket 7, so we should just give them up here. Let's move on. Okay, now we've got ace deuce suited on the button. Blinds are 500, 1000. We've got 49 bigs, and there's the limp from under the gun +1. There's a raise to 4 BBs from the middle position player, and we call this on the button with ace deuce suited, which is very loose, and which I don't really like. If you're going to, well, first of all, we've got 49 big blind stacks. On the other hand, well, if we were on the big blind and the action was ending on us, then I can fully understand calling with a hand like ace deuce suited. But here, I'm not so sure. We cannot really raise this because it will be too loose to 3-bet a hand like ace deuce on 49 bigs. Should probably just fold it, but yeah, we decided to call anyway. Oh, wait. We decided to call. All right, and the limper also called. So we saw a nice flop of king, queen, king with 2 spades. Both players checked to us, and we decided to check as well, which is really the blunder. We should be betting here on a flop like that. Yeah. And we should bet probably, yeah, like a quarter pot bet, 4K, just to see where we're at. Perhaps the middle position player would put us all in, and we'd be glad to flip it for a double up. But we did check it, and there was another queen on the turn. It went all checks once again, and on the jack of spades on the river, it went 80% pot bet, raise all in, and a call. And yeah, we would have hit our flush, but fortunately we were behind both these players. But yeah, let's move on. Another quick hand I see. We've got pocket threes on blinds 400, 800, so we've got 57 or something big blinds, and the action goes, the action checks to us actually. We open for 2 BBs, we get 3-bet by the small blind, and we fold it. And the solver actually says it should be a call with pocket threes here. Yeah, but I think again we run into this issue that the solver is thinking about this as a cash game hand, and this is really a tournament hand. So we want to ideally risk as fewer chips as possible. We do not want to put ourselves in in situations where we can gain a little bit of EV, but at a great risk. We just want to gain a lot of EV on spots that have not the biggest risk for us, or simply at smart spots, right? And this doesn't seem like a smart spot, but on the other hand, we can probably call here sometimes, see the flop and decide then. But let's move on. What do we have here? We've got pocket queens on the big blind on something like 60 big blind stacks. There's an open from hijack to a little over 2 BBs. We 3-bet with our pocket queens. There's a 4-bet from the initial raiser. And we decide to just call the 4-bet, which I guess is also fine to do sometimes. Calling is indeed better than folding. However, besides raising your top hands, you should mix up your raising range with some bluff hands. This hand is a very good candidate for that, so you should have raised. Is pocket queens really a good candidate as a bluff here for a 4-bet? I don't really think so. I think hand like, I don't know, ace-5 suited is a good bluffing candidate here for a 4-bet. And pocket queens, we probably also want to have some hands that call here, which are strong. And I think pocket queens are actually quite perfect for that, but yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe we should just shove it here every time. But yeah, we do decide to just call that. We see it's a huge error in the eyes of the solver. And we check it on the Jack 3-3 flop. The pre-flop raiser bets a third of the pot. We shove, and yeah, we see the bad news that the villains actually got pocket kings. So there's not a lot that we could have done differently in this hand. If we just shoved on the flop, we would have gotten called anyway. I think by the way that we played this hand, we allow ourselves to get some value from weaker hands, right? If he had ace king here, he's probably fold, maybe, well, at least sometimes he's folding on the flop here when he continues and we raise all in. He would have still cut the ace, of course, at the times when he called, but we would have put ourselves in the best possible situation here. But yeah, let's do this last one and then we'll wrap up for this session, because I see we've already taken 19 minutes and we're only 8 blunders in. So let's go through this one. Blinds are 125 to 50 and we've got a little over 110 big blinds. There's a limp from under the gun. There's another limp from hijack, and we decide to bump it up to 5 big blinds. A bit too aggressive, should have just called. Well, I don't agree here. If we want to play a hand here, we should raise, and we should raise. I think raising 5 BBs here is just fine. We get called by the button. We get called by both these limping players, and we see a flop of 6-8-8 with 2 clubs. Goes check check, and we bet 80% of the pot, which is a little too much. We see the Snowy is just advising to bet quarter of the pot 100% of the time, and if we're betting 80%, then it should just be 8% of the time. Yeah, it's a little too much. I agree with that for sure. But we get called by the button. We've got pocket nines. The other two players fold. And there's a 5 of diamonds on the turn. We continue with the aggression. We bet 55% of the pot. And we see now Snowy is saying that it's an error. It's a 7.04 big blind error. We see that Snowy is just advising to check here 100% of the time. And yeah, if we take a look at the EV of this decision, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, because if we bet here, we're really committing ourselves to the spot, and we don't want to do that. We just have a straight draw and a gut shot. Well, gut shot, straight draw, and a flush draw, and that are already, well, quad possibilities even on the flop. So, but we do decide to bet this, and we get raised, and we call because we just feel committed, I guess, and we didn't want to give that up. But here again, calling is pretty bad. We see it's a minus 12.29 BBs of EV loss. Of course, we probably have to call here because the odds are just too good. We will be good at least this amount of time where what equity that we have here. He'll not have a full house here that often. And we will have these outs to hit the flush or to hit the straight. But yeah, we really got ourselves into a bad position because of this aggression on the turn. We should have just checked here. Maybe he checks here again behind. Maybe he bets small. We call this maybe. And maybe he bets bigger. We fold. But we would have kept our 21k stack and live to fight another day. But instead we went for it, and it was a bad EV spot, so you should avoid the ones like that. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, please leave a comment below. Just write anything. You can ask a question, or you can write Poker Snowy, or you can maybe say how you would play one of these blunder hands. I'm sure you would have played them better. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. You want to learn how to play poker? Great. You have little or no experience playing poker? No problem. Do you want to learn the fundamentals, the most basic principles that allow you to easily win money when playing with casual players? That's perfect, because this course was created specifically for people like you. My name is Mateusz. I've played over 3 million hands of No Limit Texas Hold'em, and I'd like to teach you how to play poker like a pro. What you will learn in this course are the fundamentals, the ABC of poker, condensed into 21 short and easily digestible lectures. In each lecture, you will learn a different concept which you can test out and practice immediately after watching. Well, do you want to become a good poker player? Do you want to be able to beat recreational players easily? Do you want to have a great time winning at your local home games? Great! Get this course now and start winning at poker.